Trading my patience for gains in these winterless songs. Santa's labels sound like pre-market scams. I'm sipping cocoa while charting my dumb little plans. A red candle melts like the wax on my nerves. I've been wrapping up wrists like I'm tightening curves. Christmas carols drifting through aftermarket gloom. Still I'm praying that my options don't expire too soon. I wrote my wish list on a ticket tape roll. Asked Santa for green days and a little control. He laughed, said, kid, the market's colder than snow. But I'm used to the frost, yeah, I already know. So light up the screen like a midtown tree. Let the bullish glow come back to me. Wrap up the fear in a ribbon of cheer. We're just chasing gains through the end of year. I'll toast to the charts and the panic we weather. Cause nothing's more Christmas than losing together. So Santa stuck in a sideways trend again, trying to break out while the elves complain. The North Pole's futures dipped under the tent. Even Rudolph's nose won't signal a win. I hedge my heart like a cautious bear, but hope keeps sneaking through the thin winter air. I'll be marking my holiday shame. Turns on joy as volatility baked in the game. I kept my spirit in a stop-loss tight, but December storms hit every night. Still I ride this sleigh through the dips and the blight. Cause the reindeer run faster when the candles ignite. Oh! So light up the screen like a midtown tree. Let the bullish glow come back to me. Wrap up the fear in a ribbon of cheer. We're just chasing gains through the end of year. I'll toast to the charts and the panic we weather. Cause nothing's more Christmas than losing together. So even if Santa don't fill my account, even if the market won't bounce, I'll take these red days, wrap them in gold, turn every loss into something I hold. Cause Christmas ain't magic, it's risk and reward. We trade what we can, we pray to the board. So here's to the ones who chart through the snow, to the traders who stay when the sentiment's low. May your candles turn green and your spirits stay light. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Oh, brother, oh, brother, oh, brother.
We caught a wild piper this morning. Hey, do you want to say happy Friday to everyone? You want to let anyone know your weekend plans of how you're going to get to hang out with your grandma? Huh? You excited to go hang out on the farm this weekend? She doesn't know it, but in a couple hours she's going to be in a car, and she hates cars. But after that, she's going to go to where she really likes, where she gets to run outside, climb trees, fight with other cats, maybe hunt a deer or two, maybe spot a bird. I think she's freaking out right now because the star power of this show is starting to go to her head. It's on, Elise. Is it going to your head? You think you're the queen of this place? You think you're the star of the show? Let's be honest. I know she's the only reason you guys come here. I know she is the only reason you folks come here, but let's see if she literally just bit my ankle. Is it going to be one of those mornings? Huh? We fighting today, big guy? Yeah, she'll end up crashing out for a nap pretty soon. She'll end up, I give her 30 minutes at max. Folks, it is a beautiful Friday. I appreciate you joining back for another episode of the Matt Kohrs Show, where I'm Matt Kohrs and you are the show. It's not just a Friday. It's the first Friday of a brand new month. So yes, we are getting some important data that we should probably be paying attention to. But most important than that, it's a payday Friday. We're giving away some cash. We're giving away some options accounts. We're giving away some futures accounts. And the best part of all of that is it is 100% free. So if you want to join in I guess, testing your luck for today's giveaway. It is pinned to the top of chat. It is in the description of the video. All you have to do is like, retweet, and follow as you normally do. And bada bing, bada boom, you are entered. You don't have to pay nothing, not a zilch goose egg. It is free for all of you to get in there. Obviously, we will be not only giving away some options accounts, giving away some futures accounts, but the real crown here, where you could just hang your head high for the rest of the weekend, is the fastest marble racer in all the land. I know many of you all year have been seeking this crown, seeking this gold place medal. I get it. You guys have been training, dieting, mental work, putting every ounce of effort in possible. Piper? She just sprinted into my leg for no reason, right as I was in the middle of a pretty awesome monologue, if I dare. So she just like almost like a ram, dude. She just went, what are you doing? She just did it for the second time. I'm being assaulted by my own daughter. How could you do this to me? You know, you would think that maybe one headbutt is an accident. We've all been there in our life. Maybe a little bit too much OJ in the morning or something, and you headbutt a loved one. It's an accident. We've all been there. But two? Now we're getting into the point of legitimate straight up. What are you doing, dude? She's going nuts this morning. It's gonna be one of those days. It's gonna be one of those days. Anyway, where was I in my prepared monologue? Sorry, I'm not the best at, I guess, coming back from getting derailed. You guys were training. You've been training all year. Some of you are on steroids. Other of you are on trend, PCP. You're on all that good stuff that the Russians were on for the Olympics. And you've been putting in all that effort. And now you only have a couple attempts left on the calendar year to be crowned winner. So put in all your effort. We will find a brand new winner of marble racing today. And hey, to all of you guys who have been trying so much, I wish you the best of luck. But between now and then, maybe we should do some of the things that relate to the world's largest casino. I'm talking about the old stock market. We're going to be breaking down what's going on in the world of stocks, futures, cryptos, options, and everything in between. And as I've already been putting in the Discord all week, this is that slow vol crush grind to the upside. We have some natural targets at 6,900, maybe a little bit above that. But in reality, my personal opinion is what we've seen all week, a grindy kind of price action to the upside, little intraday whipsaw. I think we're going to be having that all the way up until the FOMC meeting. So I think the first week of the month, i.e. the week that we're about to conclude, and also the first 2 days of next week, Monday and Tuesday, I think it's going to be the exact same action where the bulls are slightly favored, but overall, I don't think we're going to be, I'm mentally preparing for not having considerable moves. So I'm ask anyone in the Goonie Trading Discord about this. My moves all week have just been selling premium and scalping futures. So we could talk a little bit about premium selling if you're a little bit new to the game of options and you're kind of like, I've heard about that, but how do you create a position by selling premium? The best metaphor is over under bets in sports betting. So you could sell puts if you think it's going to be above a price, you don't care by how much, or you could sell calls if you think it's going to be under a price. Once again, you don't care by how much. So the closest metaphor I feel is if you're in the world of sports betting and you're familiar with over and under bets, that's what selling puts and selling calls are. And obviously I have some standalone videos if you want to see what's going on there. We do have a little bit of individual breaking news. I see many of you already commenting about Warner Brothers and Netflix. There was an acquisition announced. Netflix consuming it. Actually, how is the stock looking this morning now? I was reading about it down. A lot of the times, the bigger company doing the acquisition on the first announcement does get hit, while then the company being acquired pops. So right now we are seeing Netflix. It was dropping 0.7% yesterday, and now it's down an additional 3.9% this morning. So we could come to that. So we have some Netflix news. We have some Meta news. We have some Elon Musk Twitter/X news. We have some other random earnings like Ulta Beauty. We can get into that. But really, I want to explain the newest deal from Apex. They're running a pretty crazy deal where all in, I think it's $86. Vanquish is running a pretty cool deal as well. Obviously, Apex is going to be the future sponsor of the day, while Vanquish is going to be the option sponsor. So we're going to get into that. We're going to break down some of those key levels as we normally do. And then at some point, hopefully we execute some good trades, make some good money. That is the plan. And I'm sure as things are going awry, if they go awry, I'm trying to be positive about this. I'm sure someone will say something in chat that will cause me to completely mentally spiral and just go on a rant and then just get angry at the current state of education within the US. So it's going to be a packed show. It's going to be a packed Payday Friday, so I hope you guys are ready for it. I do appreciate you joining me at the crack of dawn. I hope you got your cup of coffee, as I'm probably already on my third. Quick question, and I don't mean this metaphorically or rhetorically or metaphysically or anything in the middle. Have you guys ever heard about putting creatine into your coffee in the morning? Anywhere from like 3 to 5 grams of creatine. Is that a thing, or am I being tripped by TikTok? Any of the doctors in the audience, I know this has nothing to do with the market whatsoever. Whoa, new camera, I can see your pores. No, I'm just ugly. I don't know what to tell you about that one. I think it's the very calm cardigan I have on. Is that a thing though, or am I killing myself? Yes, no. Yeah, I do it every day. Okay, I'm not asking, obviously, straight up, did you hear about it? I'm asking if it's a whiskey is better. That's a good one. Zach's in here. He's like, no, I put creatine in my whiskey. Just take creatine, doesn't matter in what. Well, I'm more so referring Matty pores. Dude, this is getting hurtful. 5 to 10 cognitive enhancement. I need that. I mean, I'm going to really ask my mom about this weekend, but I think she took a lot of Tylenol when she was pregnant with me. So I'm going to get to the bottom of that this weekend, and I'll report back to you fine folks on Monday, but I'm trying to undo the amount of Tylenol that is in my system. Yes. Coffee flavor, actually. Coffee flavor creatine. They make coffee flavor creatine. I put coffee in my creatine. Interesting. Apparently we have some people putting whiskey into their creatine, and then also creatine into their Maddie snores. That's what my wife says, and it pisses her off every single night. You trying to be some gay dude working out on the beach? I'm just trying to be a dude at this point. I don't even care what kind of dude, Dank, to be completely honest. But I don't know. That sounds hyper specific. A gay dude working out on the beach. Like that's like a hyper specific thing. And it feels like you need to work through that. That sounds like a personal story. I put creatine in my Tylenol. All right. Well, on that note, maybe we should actually get to the show today. I put stock futures are a little change ahead of inflation data. Netflix shares drop. So, of course, we'll be getting into that. The big news of the day is that we are getting the PCE, the Personal Consumption Expenditure Report, at 10 a.m. But I do want to let you know this is a delayed report. SEP. That means it's the data for September. And for those of you who believe in the Gregorian calendar, you might realize that we are in December. So if you already look at what the market is expecting in terms of the vol structure, they're really not expecting this to have the biggest impact because, once again, it is just the September data. So we're not even looking back at last month, i.e. November or October. We're looking at September. So it's not just delayed data. It is very much delayed data. So I do want to let you know, technically we are getting an inflation report, but I have a sneaky suspicion that probably no one's going to care about it. And then the other big news of the day is Netflix says it struck a deal to buy Warner Brothers Discovery for $27.75 per share. You know, if I were in the market, I would have offered at least $28 for the company. If you ask me, that's a steal for Netflix. They picked up all of Warner Bros. Discovery for not even $30. $30. I mean, fuck. I'm not saying I have $30, but I could probably ask my wife for some money. She probably has at least $40 in her purse. So I think that is a pretty strong steal. Your liver creatine, 1 to 2 grams of creatine every day. Your liver creatine, red meat has more. But more people don't eat enough red meat, so supplementing is good for you. Oh, we're still talking about this creatine thing. Well, maybe if I took enough creatine, I would have been smart enough to buy Warner Brothers Discovery for $28. That's a steal. That's an absolute steal. So anyway, that is the two big pieces of news this morning. Is we're heading into the first Friday of the final month of the year. We're getting some delayed inflation data, and Netflix had somewhat of an announcement. Of course, we're going to talk about some of these other individual equities as well. Ulta had earnings. Nvidia's partner had earnings. SoFi did an at-the-market offering, dropped the stock. Meta is climbing on finally getting out of their namesake, the metaverse, which the world is happy about. And Europe, once again, is proving how they don't understand the importance of freedom of speech and is currently finding the world's most wealthy man, Mr. Elon Musk. Once again, it's just a free speech thing, and the EU has to stick up their ass when you say anything that they don't deem to be like, I don't know, quote unquote, like appropriate, I suppose. I don't even know how to explain it, but all I can really say is if you're in Europe, if you're in the EU and you have to deal with like the overreaching power of your local government for posting jokes or saying this or that, kind of absolutely blows my mind. So as you can tell, we have a lot to chit chat about today, but I guess before we do it, just to give you an overall picture, this is the S&P 500, the SPX. As you can see, pump, pump, pump pretty much all year. Starting at the end of October, we had some lower highs, lower lows. We had this fake out breakdown on Thursday, November the 20th. And ever since then, we've had a pretty strong recovery. Really got going on Friday the 21st, Monday the 24th. And ever since then, just pump, pump, pump. Right now, a little bit of consolidation. We almost got that breakout yesterday. Maybe we get it today. And if we did, obviously 6,900 would be a very natural target. But I also just want to be mindful of the fact that if the way we had this fake out breakdown, we could easily have a fake out breakout. And if that ends up being true, I do want to let you know of the downside gap fill at 6776.40. That is the high from Tuesday, November the 25th. And if you look at NDX, it's similar, but there are some structural differences. Technically, there is both a downside and an upside gap fill, but overall, strong year, giving some back in November. Fake out breakdown on Thursday, started to recover on Friday. Ever since then, pump, 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 pump. But I do need you to know that if you're trading NDX or if you're using similar levels on NQ or QQQ, obviously find the exact level, but there is an up and a downside gap fill. On NDX, the upside gap fill is 887 and the downside gap fill is 69. So overall, quite a few similarities, but there are some nuanced differences. As this has been happening, vol's all over the map. Vol VIX is the volatility of the S&P 500. It had a huge spike in mid-October, another huge spike in roughly mid-November, and ever since then, we are coming back to basically the ceiling level, which is another part of the reason why I think things are going to remain calm up until the FOMC meeting, which is next week. Next Wednesday is going to be when we're going to start to get an idea of the next major trend. Obviously, I'm showing you what the trend has been. We had this dump, we had this recovery. So in terms of, are we pushing for a new all-time high by the end of the year, or are we going to give some of it back? If you ask me, my best estimation is that we're going to figure out the start of the new trend on Wednesday of next week, December the 10th at 2 p.m. We get the results of the FOMC meeting, the Federal Open Market Committee. That is where various voting Fed members of the overall Fed, as in like presidents of certain banks like the New York area, the San Francisco area, and then there's some other Fed governors. They all come together. It's a two-day meeting, and they say, hey, what should we be doing? And basically this time around, according to not only the betting market in terms of market events like Kohrs and Palkinley market, but also looking at bonds and yields, and also even looking at equities, the market is pretty confident to the tune of in excess of 90% that we will in fact be getting a 25 bips rate cut. So most likely 2 p.m. next week, next Wednesday specifically, where they're going to be like, yeah, 25 bips rate cut. Half an hour after that, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, will then be doing a public press conference where this one should be a little bit spicy because there's a non-0% chance that at some point between now and then that we find out who the next Fed chair is. Right now, once again, looking at the event markets and also just kind of parsing through what President Trump has said, it's probably going to be Kevin Hassett, who's currently the director of the National Economic Council, the NEC. So most likely that's going to be the new guy who his opinions on monetary policy and thus the economy viewed to tend a bit dovish. So that's not necessarily so good for inflation, but it is good for asset values such as your home value, commodities, equities, crypto. So that's kind of the trade-off. If you're the guy pumping things higher, it also means you're inherently pumping inflation higher. So most likely, and this is a super general sense, and of course, like we could get into a multi-hour debate this way, that way, the other way. Most likely this guy's going to end up pumping everything, but that also includes inflation. That is the trade-off. There's not really a world in which you can pump all values, but not inflation. They kind of go hand in hand. So most likely we're going to get a lower Fed fund rate, and we're also most likely going to end up, maybe we're not going to do full-on quantitative easing, but we're definitely ending quantitative tightening this month. So those are some of the bigger picture things. So unfortunately for today, there's not like the biggest event where I'm super stoked to be like, guys, we're going to get into it. We're going to watch it. We're going to see what's going on, just because it's just not on the docket today. So I'm hoping today is just a nice little slow grind day to the upside. I know many of you in here are bullish, so I'm going to be rooting on your side. But in reality, I don't care if it's bullish or bearish. I just want a nice tradable range, whether up or down. We get in, we trade that range for the day, we get our money, we call it an early Friday. I hope we're all done by noon. I hope we're all done by 1 p.m. and then we just move on with our life. To me, that would be a perfect payday Friday. And hey, if you're just joining in right now, please do not forget that we are in fact doing a payday Friday. It is pinned to the top of chat. It is in the description of the video, and it is free for all of you to enter. All you have to do is like, retweet, and follow. Obviously, my account, once again, you can find it pinned to the top of chat. It's in the description of the video. My mod will put it in chat, and so will Nightbot, or you could just come to my Twitter page at Matt_Kohrs. And then for those of you who are maybe whining about the fact that you don't have a Twitter or an X account, that's on you. I don't know. I can't make everyone in this world happy. It takes 4 seconds to sign up for an account. No one's charging you. You could sign up for free, and it's free for all of you to engage. Like I said, all you have to do is like, retweet, and follow, and you're going to have your chance at 1 of 5 futures accounts, 1 of 5 options accounts, or the $150 cold hard cash for being the marble winner. So like I said, you might as well enter. It is free for everyone to enter, pinned to the top of chat in the description of the video. Right now in pre-market trading, things did take a hit around 8:30, and we're already quickly recovering to yesterday's high. Obviously, some of the hot news this morning is Netflix, which is continuing to get hit. It is now down 4.25% in pre-market trading. I was watching Tesla yesterday. I had a pretty good day. The other one that's kind of interesting right now is Meta. So we're getting some exciting movement, so we should probably hop into what in the world is happening there. With respect to individual companies, we're pretty much now done with earnings season. It's going to take a little bit of a break here, a couple breaks or a couple weeks, and then pretty much when we get into the latter part of January, that's when earnings season is going to kick up again. But we still have some individual equities to chit chat about. Ulta shares pop as beauty retailer hikes sales and earnings outlook for a second straight quarter. Apparently, makeup is the business to be in. NVIDIA partner Foxconn reports a 26% revenue spike as the AI boom continues. Obviously, this still bodes very well for the world of AI. The fact that the suppliers are beating their earnings tells you that someone's buying a lot of the supplies, i.e. the main AI companies themselves. SoFi stock dumps 1.5 billion share sale announcement. So they're doing an at-the-market offering, aka dilution. If you've been here for any amount of time, you've seen this before. You're going to see it again. But this is what happens when you get diluted. Meta stock climbs 3% on report of planned metaverse cuts. Meta, aka Facebook, it is kind of funny that they're cutting Metaverse, which they literally switched their name to. Circa 2022, the artist formerly known as Facebook decided they were all in on Metaverse and it was the next best thing, and that's where they're going to go. And I believe it's called the Reality Labs, and they have spent many, many billions of dollars of development in this particular business sector, and the market absolutely hates it. Every single time they talk about how much money they're putting in here, the stock goes down. Whenever they talk about maybe we're moving on, maybe we're going to cut it, maybe we're going to lean a little bit more into AI, the stock goes up. So we're just seeing this once again. And obviously the news is more exciting for the market than the fact that they're now in another antitrust monopoly issue with the EU. Speaking of that, Musk's X, aka Twitter, fined 120 million euros by the EU in first content law penalty. The European Commission fined Elon Musk's X X social network 120 million euros for violating the European Union's content moderation law. The fine was based on the principle of proportionality and was for misleading users with X paid for blue tick symbol, stonewalling researchers' access to data, and failing to set up an advertising repository. X has 60 days to come up with the solutions to fix the issues and 90 days to implement the changes, or could face additional fines. Dude, the EU, it loves doing anything in its possible power to like fuck with free speech. So once again, not really necessarily a new piece of news. And just to remind you, especially if you're joining in right now, probably the hottest news of this morning is Warner Bros. Discovery is being purchased by Netflix. That's why Netflix is down this morning. So I'm sure more information will come about this today. I'm sure it's going to be doing its rounds on CNBC and explaining this deal, that deal, the other deal. So we could probably dive more into it if there is interest. In the meantime, if you haven't already, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. It is 100% free. You know, hey, Piper, you coming back for Market Open? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dun-dun. Dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Uh-oh. Nope, she's going. She just has some sort of homing beacon to just where all the wires are and all the cables and all of, I guess, the electrical outlooks. She just goes to the most important part of the studio and she's like, I think I'm going to hang out here. It's kind of crazy. I don't know what she's, the way a moth is attracted to a light, she's attracted to all the important cables and wires for this show to keep running. What are you doing today? What are you doing? This is like it. There we go. Dude, she's on one today. Is this a signal for the market? Is this a top or a bottom signal for the market? I feel like it's a good sign, if you ask me. I'm going to interpret it as a good sign. But anyway, if you haven't already, sign up for the newsletter. It'll come to your email inbox every single Sunday. It is 100% free. You never had to pay for it. You never will have to pay for it. I break down what's going on in the market, cheat sheet for earnings, cheat sheet for all the major macroeconomic events. Today at 10 a.m., 30 minutes into the trading session, we will be getting an inflation report, but it's a delayed inflation report. It will be from the month of September, obviously multiple months ago. And probably for my day traders, my scalp traders, the most useful piece of information is the seasonality of each individual day. This day, historically, over the past 27 years worth of information, has clearly favored the bulls. The bulls win it 57% of the time, as in they have a 7% edge. But what's really impressive is the profit factor. Every dollar spent in the bullish direction on the S&P 500 futures market from open to close, every dollar spent has returned $3.26. And you can see over the past 20 or 17 years, the first 10 were a little weak, but the last 17 have just been up, up, and away. So is this a guarantee that today will be bullish? No, but it tells you that the bulls have a higher chance of winning than the bears. So none of this stuff is ever a guarantee. When it comes to the markets, you can never guarantee profits, losses, anything like that. But in terms of odds, obviously, you want to know the odds of a situation, the payout of a situation, and see if you have positive expected value. So I do want to let you know, going into this weekend, the bulls do typically dominate on this day, but it is by no means a guarantee. So, what is this breaking news? What are we seeing here? Wait, what was that? How did I lose it already? What was the breaking news? What was the breaking news? Trump administration views Netflix and Warner Bros. Deal with heavy skepticism, according to the senior White House official. Oh, so they might be denying it? So the hot news of the day actually might not really be news. Trump administration views Netflix and Warner Bros. Deal with heavy skepticism. Maybe they might be arguing that it's like an antitrust issue. Well, that could make the trading on Netflix today a little bit spicy for sure. But anyway, speaking of today, as I always do, I mark out all the key levels. I mark out the previous high, low, and close from yesterday, the previous trading session. The white box is the transition zone, bullish above, bearish below, choppy within. And then the final thing on the screen are these yellow horizontal lines, which are all the major levels of where we have live open interest in terms of the options market. You can see we have some positive gamma at 6,850, pretty much where we're at this morning. You have some negative gamma at 65, yesterday's high. You have more negative gamma at 6,880. And then from there, you're talking 6,900. And at that point, that's when you get into this pocket of positive gamma. In the bearish direction, if we don't hold 6,850, yeah, you could talk a little bit about 6,820, and then you could see today some people are betting on a reversal all the way back down to 6,800. So that would be your bear case. Remember, My framework of the market is to never be married to the bull case or to the bear case. I think it is far better for you as an active trader to basically just say, hey, this is the bull case, this is the bear case, and whichever one seems to be trending, take advantage of that. I personally strongly believe that if you are just always blindly bullish or bearish, it's going to end up making you lose half the time. I think very much every morning, especially as a day trader, scalp trader, whatever you identify as, that it is going to be much better for your trading career to understand what are the bulls looking for, what are the bears looking for, and see if you could play that accordingly. Right now, I would argue from price structure, momentum, and options flow, the bulls are favored. But once again, like seasonality, that is not a guarantee. There's actually a chance that we get a little bit of a mini gap up here at market open. We might be opening right above the high from yesterday on the SPY here. So probably not really a playable gap just because it's so small. Like maybe you take just a little bit and expect an overreaction. I guess we're going to find out in a mere 20 seconds. So obviously at market open, we'll start to track the options flow. We're going to track all the key levels. If you want to screenshot these, use them. If you don't, whatever, have at it. That's all on you. But let me remind you that the opening bell today is brought to you by today's Payday Friday giveaway. Folks, if you are watching this right now, it is free for you to enter. All you have to do is like, retweet, and follow. You'll have a chance at $150 of cold hard cash, 5 futures accounts from Apex, or 5 options accounts from Vanquish. If you want to buy those accounts, remember right now, pretty good deal on Vanquish, 50% off and a free reset with code Goonie. And then Apex is also running a pretty crazy deal, 60% off with code Goonie. But on top of that, it is only a $6. Yes, you heard me right. Only a $6 lifetime fee. So that means you could be all in for $84. So right now, Apex running a pretty good deal, Vanquish running a pretty good deal. You could take advantage of both with that code Goonie, or you could just try your luck if you want at today's Payday Friday giveaway. And on that note, dingity ding ding ding, the world's largest casino is now open. Best of luck to all. Play responsibly, and if not, have fun. All right. Speaking of that, none of the bots are on. Enable. All right. The bots are on. And on that note, I actually figured out what the issue was yesterday. And when I tell you what the issue was yesterday, you're going to say, Matt, you're such a Tylenol baby. I applied the strategy to the wrong time frame. For those of you who were watching, and I was like, hang on, it seems like it's a little bit off. Like it seemed like it was like always 1 bar delayed. It wasn't the code. I looked at it for hours last night, and it was one of those things where I was like ripping out my hair. I was looking at every line of code, and I was doing every piece of analysis that I possibly could. And I was trying to figure it out. And then like an hour into it, I was like, oh, maybe it isn't the code. Maybe I just applied the code to the wrong time frame. And then I went and I looked at it and I was like, yep, I just put it on the wrong set of data. So it was an ID10T error. It was an idiot error for sure, but it wasn't technically a code error. Geez. So that one's on me. That was the big issue. Ooh, but I do have some exciting news. So as you can see, the quote unquote large accounts are looking pretty good. They're up about $28,000 each. So I'm up roughly $420,000 ever since the start. I started these accounts on October 21st was the first day of trading. I bought them on the 20th. So from October 21st into, I guess, December 5th, I'm up about $400,000. And that doesn't mean I can take the money. Obviously, I have to follow their other rules. And I just want to let you know that I did do another request. As of last night, I hit another 8 days of trading days 32. So this will be my 4th payout request. But I do want to clarify, I haven't been paid 4 times. I've thus far only been paid once. And if this goes through, I'll be paid obviously twice. So I've requested 4 times. 1 of them is pending. 2 of them have been denied. And 1 of them has been accepted. So basically, I have 15 accounts. I requested $2K from each. So I've been paid $30,000. I got denied, paid $30,000, denied again, and then this is the 4th one pending, where I'm pretty confident this time around I will get paid. The 2 times that I got denied, I knew I was going to get denied, so it wasn't really a surprise. I knew that like I broke the rule. So I just want to let you know, Last night when the market closed, December 4th, I requested, as you can see, on all 15. And I'm hoping, ideally, as soon as possible, that I get the good news that I'm approved for another $30,000 payout. So I'm kind of awkwardly waiting on that one. But also, I just want to remind you that if you want to take advantage of Apex's deal, it's an interesting time to get in. Netflix is getting a bit of recovery. I'm getting a breakout alert on Avago early this morning. Oh, Avago's looking nice, actually. There is technically a downside gap fill and an upside gap fill. Upside gap fill on AVGO to 39716 and a downside gap fill to 383. Let's do crossing down on that one. So Avago, I'm already getting some breakout alerts. Palantir, strong recovery. Microsoft not doing much. NVIDIA attempting to start its recovery. Apple taking a breather after hitting a new all-time high. Tesla trying to continue with that bullish breakout. And Meta right at its 50 EMA. There is a downside gap fill to 648 and also an upside gap fill to 742. Google kind of consolidating after hitting an all-time high. Rumble holding this rally of how much now? Just a nice rally of 51% in about 2 to 3 weeks. Absolutely crazy. Rumble, I think, is going through a legitimate short squeeze right now. The only leftover question is how big could it possibly be? I mean, 51% when you have a 25% short interest, a cost to borrow intraday that is exceeding 30% commonly. It's the utilization is maxed out at basically 100%. Some mornings it's 99, other days it is straight up 100. So clearly, a lot of shorts got involved in Rumble at the worst point, and now they're not only getting destroyed on the cost to borrow, but they're also getting destroyed on the price movement. So this is going to be exciting to see. I would love to see if it can take out this technical high all the way up here at 895, and then that would lead to another test at 942. So kind of just watching some of these recent highs. Worthwhile to throw on your watch list. I should be clear here. I do have Rumble shares myself, but I just had them in my investment portfolio. I've had them for years now. I don't really actively trade Rumble, and I don't even know the last time I touched options on Rumble. It's probably been years. So I do want to let you know it's a part of my long-term investment account, but I'm not an active trader of Rumble. Does Apple have downside gap to fill? Am I seeing this right? Apple... Yes, there's a downside gap fill to 253-ish, and there's probably more on the chart. There's another one all the way down here to 234, but I assume the one you're chit-chatting about is down here, 253.45. I am seeing the same thing. But remember, not all things have the same odds of a gap fill. Just because the S&P 500 has a high proclivity to filling unfilled gaps, that doesn't mean that Apple has the exact same. You would want to go and do testing specifically on Apple and understand the odds for Apple. It's probably similar. I'm not saying it's going to be dramatically different, but I do know in just a general sense that the odds of gap fills on indices is a bit stronger. What time is it? 9:36. Mag 7 is ripping. Where are we here on the S&P 500? A little bit of a pullback. We didn't get the downside gap fill. That's far too away. Oh, brother. Oh, brother, oh, brother, oh, brother. Oh, mother, oh, brother. Oh, mother, oh, brother. Am I doing this right? What time is it? 9:37. 9:37. I'm thinking about the odds of the 10-minute Orbo. We are above the EMAs. We are above VWAP. Looking at Bookmap, a lot of people, well, I was going to say we're targeting 78. We just took out the point of control. That was a good entry right there at 54. I feel like I'm a little bit too chasey now. I should have just pulled the trigger when I first saw it. I was questioning it because it's a little bit early for me, but to be fair, the setup was there. So maybe I could get in on a pullback if there is one, but I need it to be a little bit bigger than a couple of points. I don't want to be chasing it this close to the intraday high. I am basically attempting to get into a low risk 10-minute Orbo breakout trade. That would be the plan, but I need to see the setup there because I don't really necessarily feel like getting in at 65 and risking 40. Now, it's a different story if we dip to 50 and all of a sudden I can only risk 10 points. Well, that's now something I'm interested in. Oh, Jesus. How are we looking on Bookmap? A lot of people trying to dump at 90. At 90 is where we see a lot of sitting sell orders. So they're almost seemingly front running the tag of 800. They're almost front running the tag of 800. Interesting. We haven't hit 80 quite yet. There is still the downside gap, though. We technically haven't hit that on SPX. SPX today, the intraday low is 67.68, and yesterday we hit 66.47. So we are kind of near this resistance. We're also kind of near this support. What's the flow looking like? The Mag 7 is showing some strength this morning. A little bit of put selling, but mostly call buying. It just turned a little bit there, but pretty much for the first 8 to 9 minutes, that was a nice pump. The SPY showing the same thing, a little bit more jagged, but overall the SPY is trending to the upside. It is trending to the upside. All right, this is why I didn't want to chase. I was actually close to chasing at 77, and look at that. We're already right back down to the 50 EMA. We're already back to the super trend. They actually might be targeting VWAP down here all the way at 700. So I'm kind of happy that I showed a little bit of patience. It would have been an interesting trade in at 60. I probably would have already been knocked out for break even or slight loss, but I am watching this just because it's still a little bit early. Like I said, I might be a little bit interested in the 10-minute Orbo. However, we have the downside gap fill on the S&P 500, and VWAP is a very natural target. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing there, crazy? Are you trying to trade today? Are you trying to give me a warning about should we go bullish or bearish? What are you feeling today? What are you feeling today, cutie? You feeling bullish or bearish? Which one do you want? Up or down? Can you just tell the audience what your official prediction for the day is? You're being quiet now. Little stage fright. Why don't you just take a nap? Yeah, just take a nap. She has like 4 beds in here. Someone said NVIDIA's dumping. Well, here we go. If you took this breakdown trade, you're hitting your target. Right here, when it swept 40, right here, when it swept, popped, and you went short at 28, your risk was 41, and you're about to hit your target of 98. Honestly, I would have taken it off at 700 flat just because it is a key level. So I'm kind of happy. I feel like I avoided this one. As much as it looked good, it was one of those maybe 55-45 opportunities where the 45% chance ended up paying out. But even if it's not, are they going to bounce it right off of it? If you took this breakout trade, don't hate it. Your risk is 98. You're in at 13. You have well-controlled risk. If you are wrong, it's a 13, 15 point hit. If you are right, you get to ride it all the way back up to maybe 80 and more. So in terms of risk reward, you have a 50-50 opportunity with way more payout than you do risk. I'm a little bit hesitant myself to be taking this right now because the thing that keeps screaming in the back of my mind is we haven't gotten this downside gap fill. I feel far more comfortable about being bullish after the gaps are filled because it's a downside gap fill. So I'm kind of waiting for 66.47 to get hit right here, which it almost just did. We're about to hit it. We hit 0.57 and the low or the high yesterday was 0.47. So there's still technically a little bit of a baby gap. So I'm just kind of waiting for that to get filled. Just trying to show a little bit of patience today. I've already put in the request. I don't want to blow out my counts. It's also a Friday. I would prefer to have no trades today than a horrible trading day and then have to focus on how I messed everything up over the weekend. So if I just don't see that, ideally A plus setup, I just don't do anything. But we're going to find out very shortly to see if I have the discipline or not today. NVIDIA is taking a hit. That's definitely leading some of tech down, and it's probably leading some of the SPY down. So the SPY got its downside gap fill. The Qs didn't have a downside gap fill, but this SPX technically hasn't. And remember, SPX is the one that the world cares about. I know people pay attention to SPY, but remember, that's just the ETF that is created to track what is going on with the actual S&P 500. So it's just a basket of stocks created to mimic the theoretical index. The theoretical index is SPX. SPY is an ETF, one of many ETFs created to track it, similar to VOO. There's so many of them. But the actual index, like where big money is trading, they're trading right here, SPX. I'm not saying that SPY doesn't have big money. It does have big money, but on a relative basis, when we're talking about gaps and key levels, we're generally going to use ones on SPX and then map that over and figure out what that means on SPY. So this is kind of, for lack of a better term, maybe we could consider it the source of truth, if you will. But anyway, all right, so that was bearish, just popped. That was bearish, just popped. This was bullish, almost broke down, and then just popped again. Right here, bearish to bullish, and now we're retesting. Bearish to bullish, retesting. So this is all kind of looking a little bit suspect of which side of trend and which side of momentum are we really going to be on this morning. That was a reasonable rejection trade right here. If you went short off this double top, we kind of got double rejected at 720. You could be in at 706, and you're basically just playing for the breakdown of VWAP. Now, will VWAP break down? I have no idea, but your risk would just basically be this recent high. And then obviously from there, your play is basically saying, no, I think we are going to drop to get this downside gap fill, which statistically is a very acceptable play. Just the question is, just because we hit the gap commonly the next day, that has nothing to tell you with, oh, do we hit it at 9:44 in the morning? Are we going to hit it at 3 p.m.? Like, you just don't know. So I'd be watching this for the downside gap fill. I don't necessarily love playing it when it's just clearly dancing around at VWAP. This is NQ, by the way, which is just very popular to trade in the world of sim-defunded trading. That is a higher low, and that might be a higher low reversal right there. So if you were bullishly biased, you could be long at 707 and you're risking 87. I know it sounds like I'm all over the place, but remember, the market is a 50-50 game. The chance of the next bar being green or red on the 1 minute, the 3 minute, the 5 minute, the 10 minute, the 50 minute, it's all 50-50, folks. So you are playing a 50-50 game, and you need to accept that. That is just a mathematical truth of the market. I know there's a lot of other dweeby fucking loser furu gurus out there who are telling you they have this special model, and as long as you watch their hundreds of hours of streams and videos and pay for their course, they will teach you this model. And it simply isn't true. That is not how it works, especially in the world of day trading. It's a game of risk management. That's all it is. Trading is a game that rewards the people who are the best risk managers. And every once in a while, you have some wins, and sometimes they're really big wins. But it's one of those things where if you're not a good risk manager, eventually variance is going to come for you, and you're going to blow out, and the game's going to be over. The people who survive this marathon, they're continually keeping their risk low. And they just do that time and 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 time again. It's just risk management. Folks, my background's in computer science. My background's in statistics. I've done the breakdowns. I'm here on Wall Street. I've talked to some of the best traders making millions of dollars. I promise you, there is no holy grail system that is making anyone money on any trade, on every single trade, I should say. They're basically playing a game of 50-50. Similar to a casino. A casino, when you're playing against them in whether it's slots or blackjack or baccarat or whatever it is, they have the slightest edge. They're just doing it time and time again with good risk management, which is why the tables have limits. Same thing with sports betting. They're looking for small edges that they can exploit with a large number of data. And in this case, it would be you doing that proper trade time and time again with obviously proper risk management. That's the secret to trading. Bot isn't trading this? No, not yet. And the reason it's not trading it is because things are too mismatched. You can see it right here. See how we were bearish to bullish, bullish to bearish to bullish. This has been bullish the whole time, but you can see it again on NQ. So my bot's not popping off yet because we don't have consistency in trend. We're a little bit all over the map. What's wrong, girl? You don't want me to work today? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. She's just doing crazy Piper things. What are we doing today? This is getting a little questionable. I do admit it. She's not good at heights, which I know is strange to say about your cat, but she's not the most athletic cat out there. Are you about to jump? What are you doing? She's oddly a little afraid of heights. Like, she always gets shaky. I've been trying to train her a little bit better. Is this what you wanted? You just wanted a shoulder view? I'll help you out. Nope, you're going back to the computer. She just does her own thing. I don't know, man. She's a vibe. She's just trying to hang out today. She thinks it's the weekend. The time changes have her all messed up. She thinks it's already Saturday and I don't have to work this morning. Why don't you just take a nap? I'll play with you after. I promise, I'll play with you right after. We could play for hours. We could even break out your favorite laser. Just go to bed. Just get ready for the laser. Yeah. There you go, cutie. All right. Now we can really focus. If it's that Matt has a fat cat, how about you shut the fuck up? A fat cat? I'll have you know, the vet has informed me my cat's body composition is almost statistically perfect. The perfect balance of stature and muscle. Perfect combo of stature, muscle, lean mass, vibes across the board. The vet basically tells me my cat should be on magazines for like, this is what your cat should look like. Cats like the high ground. I think she likes the high ground and then she gets confused because she's like, wait, am I afraid of heights? It's one of those vibes. Did we ever get the downside gap fill, folks? No. That's painful. We did not. Ooh. That's probably going to piss off a lot of people. That's not going to go over so well for a lot of people. Technically, this is now bullish. So all these basically had bullish recoveries. We almost broke down, bullish recovery. Almost broke down, bullish recovery. Same thing here on NQ. Almost broke down, bullish recovery. Is it going to hold, though? Here's a look at options flow, which was pretty strong this morning. Is it holding, though? Not really. The Mag 7 ripped, it dipped, it popped, now going flat, pretty indecisive. Looking at the S&P 500, it popped, pulled back a little bit, ripped, and then just got another flow alert. That is evidently bullish. Look at that. Lots of put selling. So maybe selling to open. And I was going to check to see. Well, remind me in like 2 minutes when this updates, I'm curious if there's a lot of put selling beneath, because that might be what we're seeing here. That's a lot of put selling. If it's selling to open, if it's selling to close, we could be seeing a Vanna rally today. Probably not the biggest. It wasn't like we had a huge amount of puts coming into today, but literally from market open to this moment, that's a lot of put selling. So my sneaky assumption here is they're selling puts beneath. They're probably offering some support beneath in here. So we're going to come back to that in 1 second. But like I said, we don't have exactly that data quite yet. Mag 7 is trying to make up its mind. Bullish, bearish, now neutral. We haven't gotten the downside gap fill, which is making going bullish at this moment pretty hard. There's a good chance I would have gone long at 945 had we gotten the gap fill. We did get the gap fill on SPY. We did not get it on SPX. And like I said, had we dipped a little bit more, I would have felt a bit more comfortable of going long at 945, risking the 944 low, targeting 6880, or maybe on NQ, seeing if I could ride it all the way up to 800. That would have been the plan, I think. We already did take out the 320 high, the overnight session high, and the overnight session low was at 850. That's a pretty strong recovery. Man, the Qs are really going now. They're going. Yep, we're about to hit the next level on SPX. All right, you're at a level here. Remember, when you come to these key levels, it's a 50-50 shot. The reason we mark these out is because these are the key levels that we should be looking for reaction, because the direction of the movement is probably going to be the next leg. And then in between the levels, we're just drifting, waiting for the key levels to be hit. But once again, we are all the way up here at the most negative gamma node of the day, 6880. This, as you can see, right... Oh, someone did offer more support at 50. That's interesting. But anyway, coming to the open net OI, there's a lot of directional long calls today, expiring today at 6880. So just be careful, because if they choose to take their profits as they go into money, we're going to be losing positive delta. And then as the market makers re-hedge out their books, that would require SPX selling. So just be careful, because they might choose to react to this. All I can tell you is there's a lot of players to the tune of thousands of contracts long at 6880. If they choose to lock in, look for the market drop. If they think there might be a little bit of a push to 95, maybe to 900, well, maybe we go all the way up there then. But I have no idea what these players are going to choose to do. All I could tell you is in real time, there's very much a live bet at that level. And look at that. What a beautiful long at 945. Wow, that worked out phenomenally. Did any of you take that long at 945? Whether it was the recovery off that SPY, the Qs, this VWAP bounce. I'm talking about right here where we saw this higher low, this breakout at 945, 87. It was a little bit of a large risk for me. Obviously, I didn't play it. It would have worked out. I wish I did in hindsight, because you basically took on no smoke whatsoever. Damn, that was a nice trade. And then you could have done it again here at 49. You could have been long at 40, risking 23. That's still kind of a large risk, though, to be honest. That one didn't dip enough, and we already hit that target of 800. So it was a nice trade, but for a person who's prepped up to trade one mini contract today, I think it was a little bit too much risk for how I planned on sizing it. So I could have played micros and I could have taken advantage of it, but whatever, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And it looks like various ones of you in here got a hold of it. That's awesome. That's a classic VWAP bounce. You put in a higher low, you play the recovery, you're risking the recent low, and it just really expands in your favor. That's awesome. That's congrats. You deserve it. You're probably already up good money. That's quite the movement. Your Friday's over, folks. Don't give it back. If you already locked in that crazy gain, what's the point of like pressing it? Go and like, you could be done. It's not even 10 a.m. and you could already be done with the day. You could already start your weekend. You've already made good money. What's the point? The upside is that you make some more money. Let's say even you double it. Ask yourself, are you going to be more on a relative emotional reaction? Are you going to be more happy that you double your money? Or are you going to be more upset of giving it back? For me, generally when I'm green, I'm already stoked, and the psychological feedback isn't that much to make more. But if I go up money and good money and then give it all back, that is generally a high emotional reaction in my brain. And maybe your brain's different. But for me, it's a bigger emotional impact to go up money and give it all back and then go red, especially. It's one thing if I give it back. It's a completely different thing if I go red, rather than the positive case of just making more money. But that's just me. And you got to ask yourself what is appropriate for you. And I should also remind you, in about 3 minutes and some change, we're going to be getting the PCE report from September. Hopefully, fingers crossed, our boy Rick Santelli is going to be breaking down this news. But I do want to remind you, it is not recent data. It is very, very delayed data. It's the inflation report from September. I'm not saying October. I'm not saying November. We're at the start of December, and we are getting September's inflation data, which I don't think the market's going to have the biggest reaction to on a full day basis. You might see a little bit of jostling for position in minute 1, minute 2, but I don't think anything too special is going on. I took it at 9:49 and I'm done for the day, waiting on you. Dude, that's awesome, Stonk. Dude, yeah. Crush it. You made that money. You're done. You did your job for the day. You kept your risk in check, hopefully. And if not, whatever. And it went in your way anyway. Mag 7 is starting to take a hit going into this. The S&P 500 is still representing some pretty serious strength. 5 minutes bullish, 10 minutes bullish, 30 minutes bullish, 4 hours bullish, 5 minute, 10 minute, 30 minute, 4 hour is all bullish. We did overshoot 80. Remember, there's probably some people locking in their profits right there at 6880 because we hit this giant negative gamma node. In fact, you can see it right here, 0 DTE. This is people locking in some of those profits. Now, it wasn't like a horrendous sell-off or anything, but some players out there, probably smart, just risk management, decided to manage that position at least to a certain degree. So it makes sense that on the first attempt of overshooting this level, when they went from out of the money to the in the money right here at 953, they're smart, just locking in some of that. You can't blame them. That's just good positional awareness. The NQ, we did break out. This might just be a higher low in here. You could take this long at 87 if you're okay risking 68, but you're kind of taking on the 50-50 risk of this announcement, and maybe you're going to get the coin flip right. Maybe it comes up heads and this explodes and you make a lot of money. From a structural standpoint, I don't mind this long at all. It's just more of keep your risk in check. But from a news event standpoint, I don't necessarily love going long at this exact moment, just because generally when I do my 50-50 shots, it seemingly doesn't work out my way. But anyway, going into this, you do see some optimism in the S&P 500 and you see some pessimism in the Mag 7. So please keep that in mind. From a price structure standpoint, the bulls are in control on the 1 minute. And from a price momentum standpoint, the bulls are also in control. So the only thing that isn't bullish is the Mag 7 options flow. Price structure, momentum for the S&P 500 and for the NASDAQ are both bullish. Options flow for the S&P 500 is also bullish. It's the Mag 7. This is the one piece of criteria which doesn't make it like a perfect bullish sweep, if that makes sense. Very quickly, just to remind you, we are doing a Payday Friday. Sign up. It's in the it's pinned to the top of chat. It's in the description of the video. All you have to do is like, retweet, and follow. It's free for everyone to enter. $150 of cold hard cash, 5 Apex accounts, 5 Vanquish accounts, and obviously doing that marble race. We're going to be doing that after the market settles in a little bit, but I just want to give a shout out to Apex. Use that code Goonie, and they're running a pretty gnarly deal right now. You can be all in for $84 for my futures traders, and then Vanquish is also running a pretty good deal, 50% off and a free reset. For both of these, just use that code Goonie, and obviously good luck with today's Payday Friday giveaway. And on that note, here's our boy Rick Santilli. It's coming out in 2 seconds.
Coming up this hour, Goldman Sachs chief economist Jan Hatzius is with us as we get a fresh read on inflation any second now ahead of the big Fed decision next week. Plus, the deal rocking the media world. Netflix officially says it is buying Warner Brothers film and streaming assets. But will it pass regulatory scrutiny? That's the question. We'll discuss that angle and why the movie theater industry is opposing the deal.
Meantime, watching the markets here, about 9 points shy of a closing high on the S&P would be around 68.90. Busy day for data, as Sarah said. We're getting some PCE numbers, income spending, and of course, UMISH. Let's get to Rick Santelli.
Here's our boy, Rick's in chat.
Yes, a litany
Here's
of data.
our boy.
Let's start at the beginning. September personal income comes in a bit stronger than expected, up 0.4, following at least up till now an unrevised 0.4. If you look at the spending side, up 0.3 as expected, half in the rearview mirror, which was up 0.6. Up 0.3 actually is the lightest going back to May when it was unchanged. If we look at personal spending on the real side, accounting for inflation, it is a goose egg, 0. 0 and 0 would be the lightest going back to minus 0.1 in May. Let's look at the PCE price index on a month-over-month basis. This, of course, is the money ball, up 0.3 as expected, same as last look. If we look at year over year, it's up 2.8, exactly as expected, 0.1 warmer than the rearview mirror. 2.8 would be the warmest since March of last year. And now if we go core month-over-month PCE, comes in at 0.2 as expected, equals last month.
Orders
and if we look
submitted.
at year over year, it's up 2.8 on
Orders
core,
submitted.
which equals expectations, 1/10 lighter than the rearview mirror. Now, let's look at Michigan. These are preliminary December numbers. 53.3. That's a nice beat. 53.3 would be the best
Once
since
again,
October
for
when it was
September, though.
53.6. If we look at the current conditions, 50.7, that's a miss. 50.7 is a miss. That follows a 51.1. And 50.7, well, 50.7 would be very close to the all-time low, which was our last look at 51.1. Now, if we look at expectations, 55. That's nice. Now, that's what we expect down the road. That's a much stronger number than we were looking for. 55 would be the best number since August when it was 55.9. Now, the inflation numbers, They have been way on the high side of late. They are coming down. 4.5 last month now becomes 4.1. That would be the lightest, second lightest of the year. The lightest was 3.3 in January. And the last number, 5 to 10 year inflation, comes in at 3.2, much lighter than 3.4, both in the rearview mirror and the windshield. 3.2 equals the start of the year. To find a lower number, you're in Dece of last year, which means it is the lowest number of this year. Or actually, let me take that back. It equals the lowest number this year, which was January. To find a lower number, you're in Dece of last year. We see interest rates. They wiggled around a bit, but they're very close to where they were. 4.11 is a 10. That's up 1 on the session, up 10 on the week. Sarah and the gang, back to you.
Okay, Rick Santelli, that was a lot of good information. Thank you very much. Our Rick Santelli pretty much in line on the PCE, which I think is the headline for inflation, because that's what the Fed pays attention to. We know that it's elevated above their 2% target, and this just confirms, the 2.8%, for instance. It's hotter than they want, but it's coming in line with expectations.
I want to clarify, I'm long at 82.75. We'll call it 83. My stop's at 88, so no matter what, I'm making $5. So I hope it doesn't come back and tag me out, but if it does, I make $100. I'm done for the day, or I make $1,000. So no matter what, I'm making 100 in the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, I'm making 1,000. This is going to be my one trade for the day. And sorry, I should silence her.
But otherwise, the income and the spending numbers coming in line.
Today does seem to be a nice setup day, and on a normal situation, I think I'd be more aggressive about continuing to trade on a day such as this. But the reason I'm not is because I've already put in my Apex request. So I don't want to keep having exposure to the market when I might be blowing out on these accounts when I'm still waiting for either the payout approval or denial, which is why I so aggressively move my stop to in the money, because no matter what, I want that $50 because that's going to count towards the next payout period. So do I want this to explode and give me money? Of course I do, but I'm getting in my one trade on the day. It's even better if I can make at least $50, which is why I quickly move the stop up. And then from there, if this hits, I'm just done on the day. And right now I'm trading a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot less aggressively, just because I'm waiting for Apex to tell me, did I get approved? Did I not get approved? So all I really cared about was getting my stop to being at least $50 in the money, because this counts as a trade day and it counts as a $50 plus trade day, which counts towards my 8-day period moving forward. So I have exposure, I put in my stop, and if it hits, great. That means I make 15 grand. But like I said, I'm either making 15 in the best case scenario, worst case scenario, I make 1,500, and then I move on with my life. Honestly, I could probably even move it up to this level. I can move it up to, actually, I could just leave it. What's the point in even fucking with it? I was thinking about moving it up to this low. What is this low? It is 96. I mean, I can move it up a little bit more to 94. I don't know, 95. I think it's about to hit anyway.
Order filled.
One trade, bada bing, bada boom, $15,000, 15 accounts, $1,000 per account, a little bit less on some of them after slippage and commissions, but I just made 15 grand. I'm done. That's it. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Just like that, folks. I waited. I was patient. I got a perfect entry off the Icarus system. I got in here at 82. I was risking 64. It pumped up. Right away, I moved my risk to in the money. Pumped up more, pulled back, moved my risk to there. Had the $50 target the whole time. Made my $1,000. Done. It's a Friday. Right now, there's multiple things that I'm considering of why I don't want to be over aggressive, because could I make more money? Could I hold this and let it go and go and go? Yeah, there's a good chance this keeps going, and maybe I double, maybe I triple, maybe, obviously, but if I choose to stay in the market, I'm taking on more risk. And if I'm taking on more risk, there is a chance that I fuck up my Friday. That wouldn't be fun, because then I think about it all weekend. There is a chance that I fuck up my payout, and based on the amount of times I've been denied before, definitely don't want to get denied again. And we're also in December. If I'm on a hot streak right now and I made another 15K on that hot streak, do I really want to put that in jeopardy? So when I think about what's going on, to me, if I double or triple this number, if I go from 15K to 30K, 30K to 45K, I don't think that potential reward is worth the risk of what it would do to my mind if I fuck this up today. Does that make sense? Am I losing anyone on that? Like, to me, I'm obviously financially, it's just linear. Like, great, 15K to 30K to 45K. If I made this money, I could risk it, and maybe I risk going back down to zero, or maybe I risk and put a stop exactly at $50. Yeah, I think there's an argument to that. I think that's fair. But I guess just the mindset that I'm in, it's a Friday. I want to do Payday Friday. I want to be stoked about the weekend. That's 15 grand. Like, I'm stoked about 15 grand. I don't know if I'd feel that much better about 30 grand. I understand logically that that's double the number, but do I get like double the amount of dopamine? No, it's slightly more dopamine. And in the middle of the risk of giving the 15K up to try to get the 30K, there's probably some cortisol level spikes. So like, I don't even know if that's like necessarily worth it. I'm happy. I'm done. I'm letting the bot run. I should clarify. These ones didn't trade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's still 10 accounts that are going, but I should clarify, they are all fully bot automated. So basically, I manually executed that one trade. And then other than that, I'm just sitting here, and I guess we could watch it on this one. None. We could check it out, but these, the 5 fresh ones on Apex, and then also the take profits I had from yesterday, they haven't traded yet. And they're actually allowed to start trading, I think, in 6 minutes. I think I turned it on at 10:15. It's either 10 or 10:15 that it turned on. So there still might be other trading going on, but it's not me doing it. It's the bot system that I wrote doing it for me. So hopefully they make money. And honestly, if they go up $300, I'll probably just turn it off and just be completely done on the day. That feels like a pretty good plan in my book. Speaking of which, Piper has fired. So for those of you in the Discord, let's see if Piper can have a perfect week, a perfect week. Here we go. We have that. Let's see. So far, Piper's trading strategy has been right 4 out of 4 times this week. We're going to see if we can make it a perfect week, 5 out of 5. There we go. All right, we did that. If you're in the Discord, I literally just put in the Piper signal so you can get an idea of the bias, and we already talked about it. Remember, I don't think it's something that is worthwhile to just arbitrarily copy. I would never just copy someone, but just to give you an idea of Piper's sentiment on the day. The one thing I'm a little personally sketchy about on today is the fact that we still don't have that downside gap fill. That's like the one, I don't know, piece of warning I would give, I suppose. The one piece of warning. How are we looking over here? Interesting. Interesting. All right, I'm throwing in an order. I'm taking more of a conservative Piper today. Once again, if you're in the Discord, you know that means I'm going even further on the bounds, but I'm also not getting a fill yet. I am having a tough time getting a fill. Maybe if it doesn't get a fill, it doesn't get a fill. Maybe I should take that as a lesson. I'll just leave the order up if it gets filled, but I'm just not in a position as of now. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. For those of you curious about the options flow today, Mag 7 popped, pulled back, and then pretty much right on that September inflation report, we did get a pop. S&P 500's been strong all day. Looking at momentum, bullish. At this point, if you are riding something, I think a pretty natural target is the key technical, psychological, and gamma options level at 6,900 flat. I'd be watching that. And then from there, if the bulls are still dominant, you could probably watch 6,920. I think that's reasonable. And then 6,940 past that. So I know it's not marked out right now. I will throw it on the chart. So you could start to do some of your scale out reach targets. That's how I would play it. Right there. 6,920 is kind of interesting. And then from there, 40. And then from there, 55. But this is going to be the key test of the day. And I do want to remind you, if we get above, I think 21, that's a new all-time high. right here, 6920.34. We might legitimately be talking about a new all-time high today. That is very possible. Very, very possible. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Do I want to chase this? I still don't have a fill, and I don't know necessarily how I want to play. All right, we'll cancel this one. Golly. All right, maybe I could get a fill over here. Feels like it's a big maybe. I feel like I'm kind of chasing this up. I'm trying to sell some premium. Trying to let this decay away. Whatever. I'm either getting a fill or not. I can't keep chasing it, especially when it might just get straight up smashed here at 6,900. It is what it is. But like I said, if you're in the Discord, that's already set up. If you're joining a little late, the bot has not fired today, but I've done my one manual trade of the day, and I'm saying my one of the day. I'm just trying to be very, very, is that the initial IB? No, it's not yet because we don't have the IB. I've already requested on Apex for 30,000 and they have it. It's just pending. It's not approved or denied. So I am just basically waiting to see, like what is or isn't going on. So the fact that I got fortunate, I took a 50-50 shot. I picked heads and it ended up being heads. I'm not going to overstay my welcome. I mean, these accounts, I have 15 of them. They're all up. What's that? 30,000? What's that? 450K? I'm up 450K ever since. A little bit less than that. I'm up like 445K ever since I started these, and I started them on October 21st. So in a month and a half, I've made almost $500,000. And like, I think sometimes in my own head, I start to think, I'm like, oh, well, this is getting big. And that like starts to put more and more pressure on it. So when you could get in and out in one trade and you're not really sweating and it's almost a weekend and it's December and you have a cool cat to hang out with, you know, what's the point? What's the point? With Apex, if you lose 250, then make 260, does that trade day still count? Yeah, if you could get in and out for a cent, like on a micro or something, it's still a trade day. There's two different things. You have to trade at least 8 days. That's one rule. The other rule is 5 of those 8 days have to be a gain of at least $50. So there's two separate things to consider. Just because you trade 8 days doesn't necessarily mean you're good, but you have to trade at least 8 days. And you have to have at least 5 days of $50. Two separate rules to consider. So I like to do mine together. Obviously, in my 8 days, I hope that at least 5 of them are a gain of more than $50. Obviously, you could double dip, but technically they are two distinct rules. Where do we positions? Okay, if you are on the Discord, my position did get filled. It did get filled. And I am taking a screenshot. Taking a screenshot. Okay, that is in there. Remember all those people that said the market was crashing when it dipped? That's the thing about market predictions and analysis. Everyone's right and wrong 50% of the time. That's just, it's how it works. Like, it's so easy to find people that are sometimes right and sometimes wrong, because if you're just generically guessing bullish or bearish, you're gonna be right 50% of the time. Like, that's just how it works. Do the freaking marble race. We will. I'm going to give you guys another 15 minutes. We'll do it at 10:30. Remember, Payday Friday. All you have to do is like, retweet, and follow. It is free for all of you cool cats and kittens to play. Just do what the other 137 people have done. Like, retweet, and follow. You have your chance to have $150 of cold hard cash. Basically, your bar tab is on me this weekend. 5 Apex accounts and 5 Vanquish accounts. Apex is for SIM-to-funded futures trading, while Vanquish is for SIM-to-funded options trading. Code Goonie will work on both. On Apex, you could get an all-in account for $84, and on Vanquish, it's 50% off and a free reset. So that's pretty cool there too. But it is the code Goonie on both. As you can see, I'm using both. Here is my Apex accounts. I also have some take profit accounts that are currently running a pretty good deal as well, even though they're not the burner of today's show. And then obviously I have my Vanquish account right here. Haven't done any trades on that yet today because I was kind of waiting for the initial balance. So I myself was trying to wait till 10:30 to do some of these options trades. But yeah. All right. As this is happening, I feel like things are pretty chill. We are getting, as I said, I would love a nice grindy trend in one direction. It happened to be to the upside. I took advantage of it. Obviously, I got in a little bit, like there was 2 phases to it. Phase 1, phase 2. I got in on phase 2. So in hindsight, you can be like, but Matt, why didn't you play the first one? Well, it was a little bit too much risk, and I just didn't feel like risking as much as I had to. So I don't know. But anyway, are there any questions? Can I help you guys? Like, do you have any questions on Apex? Do you have any questions on Vanquish? Do you have any questions on Spot Gamma and what is a Gamma map? Do you have any questions on Delta Flow? Do you have any questions on my overall trading methodology? Do you have any questions on, I don't know, where babies come from? Do you have any questions on Piper, about Piper, who she is as a human, who she is as an individual? She's napping right now, so maybe we shouldn't talk shit on her. Do you mind sharing the flow for Tesla? Most certainly. Not much of directional flow. A little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit sideways grinding up. But not much of an evident trend, if you will. Let's go to the 5-minute. Let's go to the 5-minute. So Netflix has almost completely recovered its pre-market loss. Kind of interesting. And then looking at some of these others, what's the biggest gainer on the day? Avago. I have a good trade going on Avago, actually. This is another one that's in the Discord, another premium selling trade. Just a little premium burn. This is a bull put spread. It's an over bet. So it's a neutral to bullish bet. And basically, I'm just betting that it will remain above 350. And as you can see, I'm already up a decent chunk. I sold it at 40. It's trading at 35, so it's slowly but surely going in my favor. I also did a similar play with Palantir, which might actually end up hitting today. Palantir is looking pretty strong. So remember, a bull put spread in the world of sports betting is equivalent to an over bet. It is a neutral to bullish bet. You don't care how much over a certain value it is. You just care that it's above a certain value. Can I start Apex from Germany or only US? I believe it is international. I believe Germany is on the improved list, but literally just go to the website and you'll find out. What size accounts do you recommend for Apex? My favorite personally is a 50K account, but I do want to let you know that the people who have gotten the largest payouts.
Order submitted.
Uh-oh.
Target filled.
Bot. Look at the bot caught the dip. Look at that bot trade. I do want to let you know that the people with the biggest payouts, like the payout records, all seem to use the 150K account. So what has shown to have success is a little bit different than what I personally use. So I feel like that is kind of an important distinction for me to make. Can I see the net flow on Netflix? Yeah. Do I have it up here? Yeah, here's Netflix. It's actually pretty strong. People have been selling puts. No one's really touching calls, but they're definitely, they bought puts at open and then at 9:35 that switched and now there's put selling. Put selling. I'm new, Matt. Go easy. So does every different kind of trade have different equivalency in terms of tickets? Some of the ticks do overlap, but in the world of futures, there is big mismatches. Like a one tick movement up and down is different in the NASDAQ NQ versus the S&P 500 ES versus gold versus oil. It does so happen that gold and oil have the same tick value, but that's just more by happenstance, but they don't have it. So in the world of equities trading, every single cent is a US dollar cent. That's not necessarily true in the world of futures trading. Every tick right here is $5. Every tick on ES is $12.50. So in the world of equities and ETFs and stocks, every cent is a cent. But in the world of futures, the minimum movement does have a different scale value. How do you know the difference in ticks? Do you have to Google it or do you know it? I've just Googled it in the past, and now since once you trade the product, you memorize it pretty quickly. But there's a lot of shorthanded little cheat sheets out there that will help you find that. What's with the new sale on Apex, can I load up on evals beyond the 20 max? Is the max for PAs only? Correct. You can only have 20 PAs, but you can have, I believe, unlimited evals. There's been times in the past where I've had 20
Order
evals
submitted.
and I've also had 20 PAs. So I like definitively know that that is possible. The max on PA, the max value of 20 is exclusively for performance accounts. Every cent is a cent, Matt, 2025. Write it down. That's going on next year's calendar. After I pass the eval, how long can I leave the account with trading it? I going into holidays until June. I believe they email you, and I don't want to misquote it. So you could check the FAQ, but on the email of you passing, I think they give you that time frame. But remember, there's a difference of not trading it. That's fine. But there's a difference of doing the upgrade from eval to performance. I don't think it's like that quick, though. I don't think they're just going to like randomly fuck you over. And if you're worried about it, you could always just go in and do a scalp trade. And when I say a scalp trade, I mean literally
Target
go to
filled.
the micro contract and just trade in and out as quickly as you possibly can. And that technically is a trade. What are your thoughts on Netflix potentially buying Warner Brothers? Absolute nutty. I didn't have any thoughts and opinions, and then my wife read the news and she seemed upset. So just from like my marriage agreement, I feel like I have to also be upset about it. I'm going to have to get back to you on why she, and by she, I mean us, are upset about it. I'm not 100% sure of why we're upset, but I didn't have thoughts or opinions, and I'm not saying, I just don't know. Like, I don't fucking know what it means. I don't really get too hardcore into the world of streaming versus movies, this and that, but out of just my loyalty to my wife, she was upset. So I too am upset, and I will inform you next week of why I'm upset. I believe her reasoning has something to do with Netflix doesn't want to keep pushing the theatrical experience, and Warner Brothers owns a lot of rights to movies that are clearly meant to be in the theatrical experience. So that means maybe all these movies that should be in the theater, if Netflix chooses, they might not be in the theater anymore. I believe it's in that realm. Matt, you're upset about due tour marriage agreement. Sure. Matt, is refreshing to hear you teaching a newbie so patiently and professionally. You are good at it. Dude, shut the fuck up, you retard. You're trying to ruin my day. You're calling me refreshing, patient, and professional? How about you take that complaint and shove it up your ass? How about that, tough guy? How'd you get so tough? Call of Duty? Fucking this guy comes in here trying to ruin my day. On the day of my daughter's wedding. On the day of my daughter's wedding. Oh, brother. All right, folks. I'm getting loose and limber for today's marble race. Loose and limber for the race. If you want to be involved in the race, Godspeed, but all you have to do is like, retweet, and follow. There's literally 1 million of you watching right now. So the fact that there's only 142 likes, that's off by like 900 plus thousand. So you guys better pump those numbers up. All you have to do is like, retweet, and follow this account. And then we're going to use the random picker. The first 5 are going to be getting Apex accounts. Congrats. The second 5 will be getting Vanquish accounts. All 10 will be in the marble race. And then the winner of the marble race will be getting the $150 of cold hard cash. Like I said, your bar tab will be on me this weekend. Your bar tab will be on me. Would you say the 150K account would be more difficult to get a payout compared to the 50K account on Apex? It depends on how you define difficulty. If you have a perfectly linear scaling system, technically the 50K is easier because it has better ratios of your profit target and your drawdown. However, if you're just keeping constant size, as in, oh, I'm just trading one contract on both of those accounts, 50K versus 150K, well, the movement of one contract, you have more leeway on the 150K. So that's what I'm saying. It depends on how you define it as difficult. If you're like, no, man, I just want to trade a contract, technically you get more room for variance on the 150K. But if you're like, no, if I trade the 50K and the 150 and I'm just 3xing my numbers, like if it's just perfectly linear, then no, technically the 50K is easier because you have better ratios there. So you're saying AMC is going to squeeze. Oh, I'm guaranteeing it. How about a cocaine tap? Whatever's up to you, man. I'm not going to judge. I thought there was more data at 9:30. Am I incorrect? There was data at 10 a.m. We got the personal consumption expenditure, but from September, and you could kind of see right on the 1 minute where we popped at the 10 a.m. announcement right here. We got going up to 95. I'm looking for the test of 900. We're getting a little bit of profit taking right now. Maybe there's support between 80 and 84. Maybe you could put in a higher low and keep pushing higher. Looking at the options flow on the day, there is some profit taking happening right now. You can see that from 0 DTE calls. That is the green line, pumping, and now giving it back. So I would chalk this up to a little bit of profit taking, but not an extreme amount. It's just, I think, natural, whatever, market, like positional management. I don't think it's not too crazy to me. Netflix keeps going higher and higher and higher. And then looking at the Mag 7, same thing. Pretty strong pop up until 1026. To me, of course, this could be the start of a giant reversal. But as of now, I have no reason to not believe it's not just simply a healthy pullback, putting in a higher low. And ideally, we just bounce off of that. Downside gap fill to the afternoon. That's possible. That is a good call out. There is a non-zero chance. There's actually a high statistical chance that at some point today we hit 6866.47. Today we only got as low as 0.57. We technically have not got that gap fill. So if for some reason you're like, no, I'm fading this movement into the weekend, no way, no how, that would be a natural target, pretty much the intraday low. Personally, I'm not playing that. But if you're going to be a negative Nancy and you're feeling bearish, that's actually, you have like a legitimate reason to do it for sure. 10:30 my time. I don't think there's data. I think we're done on the data reports for the day. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're done. Most of the 10:30 announcements come on Wednesday for crude oil inventories. It's not the most common to get a 10:30 a.m. ET announcement on Fridays. Thoughts on JPOW being replaced? Hot topic. Hot take. I actually think he's a good Fed chair, and I think Kevin Hassett will also be a good Fed chair. I think it's being lost on us. I think that right now there's a lot of negative sentiment against Powell because of what Trump has said. And I should clarify. I do think rates should be lower right now. I think this is a misstep. But remember, Powell's not the only one who gets to set it. I mean, we've only had a few votes that haven't been unanimous, as in the entire FOMC board has decided where we're at. So like my criticism is as the board as a whole. And with that in mind, you have to remember that they're also the people who stopped the economy from being completely destroyed in 2020, 2021, 2022. So I think they've recently, as a whole, not exclusively Powell, because remember, he just gets one vote out of anywhere from 10 to 11 to 12. So he could have easily been overridden. I want to be like, Trump's rhetoric does make it seem as if Powell exclusively gets to decide. He does not exclusively get to decide. There is a chance Powell could have been like, I've been voting for rate cuts this entire time, but if he gets outvoted, he gets outvoted. And it cuts both ways. If he wanted the rates to be higher, everyone could have voted to lower them and they would have been lowered. It's not just him. It's this idea of the central bank and all the people in the central bank that I think recently have made some missteps. But I also do give them props from basically stopping our economy from blowing up. Now, the way in which they stopped our economy from blowing up in 2020 and 2021, I think they overdid it. And that's why we had such severe inflation 2 summers ago is when we topped out. So I think they like got so nervous and like kind of panicked and like went too far the other way. But they also did stop our economy from completely blowing up. The next Fed chair needs to be a data response person. Oh, really? It depends on how you interpret that. This data responsive person, I mean, the data that they get is dog shit. Okay, like, you know how we talk about the Michigan numbers? You know how like every Friday, every other Friday, we get the Michigan survey numbers? If you look into how that is actually computed, I'll just prove it to you. Tom Lee, this is going to blow your mind. Michigan numbers. He had Tom Lee, CNBC. Is it in here? Reagan, Michigan. He explained how they collect the data, and it's the dumbest fucking process ever. Tom Lee, 1 year, noting that hits high. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but he did go on CNBC, and he had a good explanation of how you collect it. And it's basically just calling people up and saying, hey, do you think inflation's going higher or lower? And then there's a statistical skew to people who are more left-leaning answering their calls for those types of surveys than right-leaning. So it becomes very, very politicized, very politicized. And like I said, if you want to fact check me on this, Tom Lee had a great explanation. He was on CNBC, and he basically dove into how we collect those data. It's not a robust statistical process. And that's just one example. If you look at the Bureau of Labor statistics and you try to like figure out how they figure out if you're employed or unemployed, do you know how they do that? Literally, the BLS calls up a random amount of people and just says, are you working right now? Yes, no. So it's just so hyper dependent on the people you're calling. Are they answering their phone? It's actually a really, really like shitty process, and it is not robust data. It is not robust collecting. So when we say like it's supposed to be data driven, even if it is quote unquote data driven, if they're exclusively using the data that we all publicly have, it's dog shit, dude. It's absolute dog shit. It's just the blind leading the blind. So, I want the Fed to be very data driven, but I think the data that they should be using unfortunately doesn't exist. I want better data collection processes. I want better data interpretation. You would think that they could use something more measurable, like legitimate payrolls and like credit card delinquencies and auto loan delinquencies, like something that is purely measurable and clearly directly associated with the health of the economy. Like there just has to be a better way to do it. And the fact that we're here in 2025 and allegedly we've gone to the moon, allegedly the earth is spherical, and we can't give good data to the world's leading central bank, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. Matt for Fed chair. If I was Fed chair, I would literally just go to Kohrs and Polymarket and just see what the odds are and always just do the high odds thing. I would use that as my sentiment for where the Fed fund rate should be at. I'd be looking at the general prediction event market. I'd be like, yep, Polymarket and Kohrs are saying we should either go up or down. I would just let the market decide. That's how I would do it. I would just show up to the meeting in my just my loafers. I'd be in sweatpants, and I would just look at the high odds thing and be like, yeah, no, this is what the market wants, guys. I'm a deep believer that the bond market will not let the Fed get too dovish. I think if the Fed were too extreme in either direction, we would clearly see it in the bond market. And right now, if you look at the bond market, it is suggesting that we should have slightly lower rates, but not extremely lower. Like not like like the Fed's a little bit behind the ball, but I think we'll get over the next 3 meetings, we'll probably get 25 bips, 25 bips, 25 bips, or maybe 2 out of 3, 25 bips, 25 bips. Then we'll be a little bit closer to where we should be. We'll let the economy digest it for a little bit, and we're going to move on from there. Are they still using Windows 95 on their PC? They're probably doing if you look into how some of these government agencies do shit, it would blow your mind, dude. It would blow your mind. Who answers random calls? People with far too much time. Anyway, more important than answering your random calls, you should be answering my random call to get involved in this Payday Friday giveaway, because we're gonna get rocking. You have less
Order submitted.
We're trading. Well, golly. All right, fuck it. We're just going to let it go. So as that trade is doing that trade, I do want to let you know it's a Payday Friday. You have less than 1 minute, less than 2 minutes to like, retweet, and follow because I need to go to Twitter Picker. Twitter Picker. Great. Close pop-up. Let's get the actual tweet here. All right. Here's the tweet and retweet. Must follow Matt_Kohrs. All right, cool. So we're going to do 5. So the first 5, to be clear, before I hit the pick this winner, the first 5 will be getting an Apex account. The second 5 will be getting a Vanquish account. So just so you know, if you see your name up here, the first 5 are for Apex. The second 5 are going to be for Vanquish. Like, retweet, and follow. Great. Pick a winner. Going. And then, of course, all 10 will be in the race. Congrats to Lake, whatever name that is, Mike, Fuzzy, and Syracuse Eric. So you guys all got the Apex account. So congrats. Let me screenshot this just so I don't lose it. All right, we got that one. And then we'll do the second 5. The second 5 are Lake again. So that's a repeat. And then I think all 5 of these. So we're going to have to do one more because Lake got a repeat in there and we want 10 distinct racers. All right. So let me 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then we also have one more. Let's do this. Pick a winner. Let's see if this is a new distinct person. I think this is Ross. I think that's a new person. So let's get that in there. All right. I think we have our 10. All right. We did that. And let me view profile. I hope I have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool. We did it. We can count to 10. Huzzah. It's always important to be able to count to 10. It's always important. All right, cool. We have our 10. Like I said, the first 5 of you will be getting an Apex account. So congrats to Lake, Mikey, Mike, Fuzzy, and Syracuse Eric. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then for Vanquish, Standing Up to Red, C to J, Weirdbeard, Wits World, Charlie Moon, and also Alvin. Congrats to all of you. And now let's get things rocking. In terms of the actual marble race. Games. View games library. Marbles. All right. Did I do this right? I think so. All right, let's see. Hello. Continue. Race. Random. All right, we are doing long shot. There's 10 bots. Cool. All right, let me somehow get this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I got all 10 of you. I'm not going to lose you this time. All right. Let's do we'll add our names. So it goes Lake Lurker. Then we have both Mikey and Mike, double Mike situation going on today. Fuzzy and Josh Allen, the quarterback, to be clear. Josh Allen is in here. C to J and Weirdbeard. C to J. Beard. All right. And then we have Wits World. And then we have Charlie and Alvin. Cool. We got our 10 people. Let's get in. Let's load up the game here. And also, let's get some good tendies and tunes pumping. Folks, all that music that you hear from our producer, Mr. Chaos himself, we give it away for free. So if you like either the hip hop or the jazz or the country, all of your trading music that you guys are seemingly giant fans of, it is up for free. Just go to YouTube and it's at Tendies and Tunes. Like I said, we give it away for free. And speaking of which, I believe, he has one, Marble Song, Velvet Kohrs. It's Payday Friday, a little bit of a funky song going on All right, let me get this one ready. Once again, that was probably pretty loud. Hey, that was probably pretty loud. It is whatever. Velvet Kohrs. It's Payday Friday. Once again on Tendies and Tunes. Folks, before we get rocking today, as we always like to do when it comes to the world of gambling, we might as well place some bets. Who do you think is going to win? We have 10 of the fastest racers known to man. Known to man. And they're all putting it on the line today. They're all putting it on the line today on a map called Long Shot that we have actually not seen before. So this is going to be a new one for all of us. And my question to you is, who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is mentally prepared for this? Who do you think's been putting in that extra effort? Who do you think's been taking a little extra testosterone to really help them get past the finish line? You have a 10% chance, a 1 in 10 shot to know this. But if you had to bet, who do you think it's going to be? It's going to be Fuzzy, C to J, Standing Red, Wits World. All right, we have some fans in the audience. And I guess on that note, without further ado, we are going in 3, 2, 1. And we are off. Fuzzy taking an early lead, but everyone is pretty much... Oh, that's a lot of steps. Josh Allen, like in the NFL, also leading the race. It's anyone's shot, folks. How are we doing this? Josh Allen's looking pretty good. We have a lot of steps to go. Here we go. The cohort. It is mano y mano. This is anyone's race. Led by Josh Allen. Lake Lurker is also there. And this is our first real switch up with Wits World. There's a giant red bouncing ball. Weird Beard and Mike are battling it out. Wits World is in third. I don't know what about that giant red bouncing ball is about, but I can tell you Mike is leading this race. Followed by Weird Beard, and Wits is in third, and C to J is bringing up the caboose. This red bouncing ball looks like it could be dangerous. Mike is slowing down. He's taking the right guardrail to potentially not die. It seems like it's a defensive tactic. Mike. Whew. That could have been bad, but it looks like we do have a succession of death balls bouncing towards us. So the racers better be on their A game, but things are slowing down. It does seem as if all racers are more so taking a conservative approach to this one, as seemingly we have blood red balls. And they're coming from all directions now. Weird Beard Mike. What does this mean? And how do we get up this elevator structure? How in the world do we get up this elevator structure? How is this going to be working? What are we doing? What? How does this work? I've never seen this map. Mike and Weird Beard, they're at each other's throats. They're making their first move. Oh, Mike is speeding up now. Out of nowhere, we went from no speed to only gas. 100% gas. That's all they know here, folks. Oh, what in the world? It's a map? How's this work? What are we doing? All right, so we're splatting a lot. Is it closest to a particular target? Fuzzy? Is it as close as you can get? Did Mike win? We're going to find out how this is scored.
Order filled.
We're going to find out how this is scored. CJ, what are we doing here? He's stuck. We have a stuck trader. A stuck racer. Poor C to J. He's just doing his best. He's doing what he can, folks. He's putting in the effort. You know, sometimes you just get a little stuck in life. Sometimes you just get a little stuck in life. So Mike did win. It was, I guess, the person who went the furthest. So congrats to Mike. To be clear, not Mikey. Mikey got second. Solid distance of, I guess, 65,000. So it was the closest to that endpoint. So congrats to Mike for winning. I will be reaching out to you later today to give you the $150 of cold hard cash. And in general, I'll be reaching out to all 10 of you today to make sure that I get you the proper accounts. C to J. We've seen better finishes. We have definitely all seen better finishes. So you got a little stuck there, but hey, that it happens. It happens to the best of us, nothing to be ashamed of. It's just maybe next time take more steroids, we got a little bit of a dip there going on the SPY. This might just be a higher low. Things are kind of slowing down a little bit. We got that dip right there. We got this dip. You know how it be. You guys know how it be. Anyway, obviously, congratulations to Mike. I do have your Twitter up somewhere. So I'll be reaching out to you. Well, like I said, I'm going to be reaching out to all of you folks today to get you. Ooh, actually, do I want to play this Vanquish trade right here? How's the flow? That's a pretty strong bounce back. I do. I want to play it on Vanquish. Buy. I want to get 10 of these. Confirm and send. No. Market. Yes. Create order. I got to fill at 860, 960, 1001. Close with single order. And I want to get out at 1001. That should be a gain of 1.5K. Cool. Did it. So I'm in at 860 and I have a pending order to dump it at 1001 on 10 accounts. That's obviously a gain of 1.5K. So Vanquish, it's sim to funded options trading. So the way Apex is sim to funded futures trading, Vanquish is sim to funded options trading. So I just did long calls, SPX. Like I said, I'm in at 860. You can see my unrealized P&L is up $350 right now. And I'm just looking for a little bit of a pump in the S&P 500. Basically, by the time it hits the intraday high, I should be able to lock it in. But obviously, if we hit this key level that I'm targeting, I should definitely be able to lock it in. So we'll see. Maybe it's a good trade. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I can't tell you the next bar. I waited for the dip. I was a little slow to enter, but overall, I am trading with the trend. I like the fact that the delta started to bounce back on both of these. So I believe I'm trading with trend, but we will wait and find out. We will wait and find out. There are too many mics. Hey, I like them all. Lot of negative gamma between 6,850 and 900. So we might be dancing around in this region today, but I would like to see this battle at 6,900. Who knows? Maybe we're going to be seeing an all-time high today. You never know. You never know. You never know. You never, ever freaking know. Well, congrats to everyone who participated and shout out. I appreciate you guys participating. It's always fun to do these Payday Friday giveaways. Are we missing any other major breaking news on the day or not really? What is this one? Some children were throwing snowballs and this is what the driver did. He probably freaked out. Probably lost his gosh darn mind. What do we have going on over here? What do we have? I'm not really seeing any major breaking news. It seems like it's kind of a quiet, grindy Friday, which is honestly how it's been all week. This is how it's been all week. Let's see if they're talking about anything of note over here. Netflix to buy Warner Brothers film and streaming assets for $72 billion. I thought they bought it for $28. That feels like they increased it. Trump can fire labor and employment board members without cause, according to the appeals court. Hey, you learn something every day. The New York Times sues Perplexity, alleging copyright infringement. $208 million wiped out. Yield Street investors. Okay, if you say so, if you say so. If you say so. Is Bitcoin really digital gold? Feels like things are oddly quiet, but maybe that's just what it is. Oh, this is on the deal. Let's see what they're saying.
Order filled.
Hello? Okay. Are they talking?
Plenty of contentious debates and 3 failed attempts at a vote where they finally got it.
They just need to test. They need to test the mothers. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, because that's who needs. Those are the infants that need the shots. Meanwhile, the big story of the day, Netflix winning the bid to acquire Warner Brothers. Our next guest arguing against the deal, saying it poses an unprecedented threat to the industry, adding that theaters will close, communities will suffer, and jobs will be lost. Let's bring in Cinema United CEO Michael O'Leary for more. It's great to have you with your reaction here, Michael. So what are you guys going to do about it? Are you going to file a complaint with the regulators?
Certainly, we're going to thank you, first of all, for having me this morning. This is a very important issue for our industry. And we're going to be pulling all of the levers we can, because we think that a deal of this magnitude, with the potential impact it will have, is something that everyone with regulatory and oversight authority needs to look closely at. So we've already been talking to people at the federal level, at the state level, and internationally, because this is a significant threat, we believe, to the long-term viability of theatrical exhibition.
Why? Is it your expectation that once Netflix does this, that we won't see theatrical releases anymore? We won't see the box office anymore? They'll just release it on their streaming platform?
I think if you look historically, when legacy studios are absorbed by other entities, even in the case where those other entities are also legacy studios, the amount of movies produced for theatrical distribution goes down. In this case, it's particularly problematic because the party acquiring Warner Brothers in this case has, that's not what they do. They focus on television, and they have been consistent in saying that they're not interested in theatrical exhibition. So if you're looking at it from the perspective of exhibition, just a few short years ago, 20th Century Fox went away, resulting in a 46% decrease in the number of titles that were coming out of that studio. You layer on top of that the potential that the Warner Brothers catalog will no longer be available in a meaningful way to theaters, and it's just impossible for the industry to absorb that kind of loss in such a short time.
Michael, how do you, counter the idea that customers seem not to necessarily be demanding quite as many releases? Certainly, certain types of movies continue to get tremendous box office, these event films, but it just doesn't seem necessarily as if the steady reduction in the number of releases by pretty much all studios has necessarily created a perceived gap among consumers.
Well, I do think that's a great question, and I think unfortunately it's a complicated answer. One of the things we're seeing is that over 2 million Americans went to the theater last year, and the number of people who go 6 or more times has increased 8% in just the last year. So there is demand for movies out there. What we need to see is more consistent movies, not just the big blockbusters, but the small and medium-sized movies, and they need to be allowed to stay in the theaters and build an audience. So all of these pieces fit together to build kind of the next great generation of cinema. We think audience enthusiasm is out there for that, but it's certainly going to be hindered if movies are going more quickly to platforms, particularly subscription platforms like Netflix.
Is this a situation, Michael, that would not change overnight, given that a lot of the Warner slate has been negotiated for release through, is it 2029?
I don't know the specifics, Carl, of when it's negotiated through. You'd have to ask someone at Warner Brothers. This is probably something where it would take a few years to start to see the impact. But there's also the psychology of it. The industry knowing that these things are coming, the perception that the consumers have. One of the things that's particularly troubling for our industry right now is there's evidence out there that consumers believe that movies are available in the home even faster than they are. So anything we do to perpetuate that belief, which is incorrect, is harmful to getting people to come out to the theater.
Wow, they own a lot.
I understand that Netflix has indicated that they would honor the agreements that Warner's has. I assume anybody who purchased Warner's would have to do that. The problem is what happens after that. And right now, we just don't know. And frankly, the skepticism on our side is pretty significant.
I mean, there is some irony here in that Warner Brothers itself did compress the release window at some point. I mean, the pandemic kind of scrambled all these things. Even as an independent company, it was doing those things to, kind of cause consumers to expect quicker releases at home. The other thing is, once, let's say this deal goes through, presumably Netflix could also change its tune on this, because they always said they wouldn't do originals. They said they wouldn't do advertising. They said they wouldn't do sports. They're doing all of it. So maybe, and they're going to have their own release of the Narnia film late next year on their own.
Right. I think, it's always possible, Mike. We believe that, hope springs eternal. At the same time, I think if you look at some of the comments coming out of Netflix today, it doesn't seem as though they're ready to make that change or commit to that change. Some of the comments about theatrical and supporting it have been, frankly, aspirational. And so I think it kind of depends on how you define supporting theatrical. if you mean putting a regular slate of movies into theaters, having a meaningful period of exclusivity, and supporting those movies with marketing, then yes, we're in favor of that. We would welcome them to take that approach.
Really quickly, maybe yes or no, would you be more in favor of Paramount buying these assets or Comcast buying these assets? Would that be more palatable to you?
I think it would be more palatable to have someone who is a proven supporter of theatrical as the purchaser, although that would not be without its complications as well.
All right. Well, please stay in touch, because we are curious about these discussions with the regulators. What concessions? For
I am
instance,
curious
Netflix
to know
might
if they're
make
going to shut
get the
this deal down. It's not a done deal.
Front. Michael O'Leary, we appreciate it, representing the theaters from Cinema United.
All right, just a little bit of an update of the hot topic news going on in the world of, I guess, streaming and theaters and movies and shows. But Netflix making a move to try to buy Warner Brothers, but once again, not a done deal. It sounds as if the administration is quote unquote looking into it. So it is what it is, folks. That's pretty much it for me today. I kind of came in, did what I needed to. I sold a little bit of premium. I made one trade on NQ on the main accounts. Made $1,000 each, so that means I'm up 15K, so I'm pretty freaking stoked about that. Right now, we're just ping-ponging around, as you can see. Kind of, we went from literally this positive gamma up to the next positive gamma. We're just ping-ponging around in this region, and that's kind of my base expectation. Bit of movement here, positive gamma up top, positive gamma below. Maybe it's a little bit of seek and destroy, but overall, I think a lot of this is just going to be ping-ponging around some of these key levels, and we're literally at one right now. So if we recapture this, I should say, look for 6,900. If we fail here, obviously look for the downside gap fill. Still have not hit the downside gap fill at 6,866. So you might want to be setting a little alert there. And if we do hit it, by no means would I be surprised if we bounced off of it. So I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar before I leave. Folks, I appreciate you participating in the Payday Friday. Congrats to all the winners, and especially Mike there winning the big prize. So I do appreciate you guys stopping by today. I appreciate all the good vibes. I appreciate all the good commentary. I hope you have a great Friday. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you make a bunch of money today if you haven't already. And if you already have made a bunch of money, hey, enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend. We're going to be posting some content later over the weekend, and then we're going to be streaming once again Monday morning. Obviously, feel free to rewind and get the key levels. Feel free to use that code Goonie on both Vanquish and also on Apex. And that's pretty much what I have for you. So once again, thank you for all the good vibes. I'll catch you guys on the flippity flip. Have a good one. Peace.